Now, for more on this story, I'm joined on the set by our international affairs editor, Douglas Herbert. Doug, hello.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Turkey has finally come around just hours after giving what was an unexpected ultimatum or condition that the EU reopen Turkey's bid to become part of the Union back on the table, and then suddenly this is your turn. Why?
Look, you know what? It's hard to follow the play-by-play, and you could get breathless trying to keep up with all of the about faces and the flip-flopping. Look, at the end of the day, what's not shocking about this announcement is the fact that Erdogan, in his signature style, engaged in the brinkmanship that he is so well known for. He has become sort of a force, an authoritarian force, if you will, unto himself in that region. And because Turkey is such a prominent player in NATO, he has been able to play his hand very, very savvily. You know, we know that Sweden was invited to join the alliance a year ago. It was a dramatic move, along with Finland. These had been two non-aligned countries. There was never an expectation they'd have to do this. They decided to join because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, its war of aggression against Ukraine, which changed, basically threw all the geopolitical cards up in the air, reshuffled the deck. But since then, Turkey, along with Hungary, but Hungary really made its acceptance conditional on Turkey's. So Turkey failed to ratify the bid. So really leaving it down to the wire, I mean literally the wire, right? I mean, it was last night, I think, at about 10:30 p.m. Vilnius time that finally, after trying a day of hopeful, wishful thinking, will Turkey come around, we found out that it will. And like you said, putting that last-minute 11th-hour condition, linking this to Turkey's EU membership bid, which has been on and off really for almost 50 years now, you know, that was just a non-starter, and everyone made that clear. And I think that Erdogan, at the end of the day, realized that he pushed it as far as he could go, and it was a fine balancing act for him between really putting, you know, stacking all of the NATO allies against him and creating a lot of bad blood. There'd already been bad blood created, but even more bad blood, and saying, you know what, I've gotten a lot of what I wanted. I think I scared them enough. I think that I've imposed my agenda enough on NATO. So I think he relented at the end. And he may have, may have been his game all along, you know, bluffing, brinkmanship, those power plays, and finely tuning that balancing act between Russia and the Western alliance.
Now, the Turkish breakthrough on Sweden does not make the bid for Ukraine to join membership any easier. What is the best-case scenario here?
Well, the best-case scenario is the scenario that is not going to happen, barring an absolute miracle for Ukraine, which is the members will agree to NATO membership now, as opposed to later. Look, we've all known the lines have been set in stone for weeks, right? We know the line. Ukraine recognizes that as long as a war is still going on, as long as it is trying to fend off this Russian aggression, it cannot join NATO, because by doing so, essentially, NATO would be dragged into a war with Russia because of Article 5, an attack against one is an attack against all. So Zelensky has very patiently, very understandingly said, I understand. I'll wait till the war is over. What he wants is the timetable, right? We say it again and again ad nauseum, but it does bear repeating. He wants to know, how far are the allies willing to go? When are they willing to go there? He doesn't want these vague, ambiguous assurances, which is why he's sort of played coy about whether he'll even show up at this summit. You know, he's gone to he's rampant on every horizon you can see. He's in front of every parliament. He goes everywhere. He seems to pop up at every meeting. And yet when this biggest meeting of NATO leaders convenes, he's actually suggested he might not show up unless it's worth his while. What he means by that, worth his while. Will I get something concrete? Will I be able to take back home something that NATO has told me, guys, this is when we'll be able to join? What is he going to get? He's going to get some security guarantees. He'll get some more commitments that NATO is with them, at least in terms of material and equipment, and standing by Ukraine as long as it takes, because what he really needs to know and show Russia is that even when this war is over, it will have the support from the Western alliance that it needs to prevent any sort of further aggression in the future. It's also going to be joining this new council with NATO, the Ukraine NATO Council. It will be able to sit in on meetings. That's a privilege Russia used to have until it was kicked out after it annexed Crimea. So it will take away some stuff, but it's not going to get what it really wants, and it's looking for the concrete commitments.
Now, beyond this issue of Ukraine membership, the allies have other major important issues to discuss. What are
Yes, they do, Sandra. They have other fish to fry in a big way because, yes, Ukraine dominates the NATO summit. It's all we talk about, right? It seems like the only issue on the agenda. But guess what? There's a 31-member, soon-to-be, potentially 32-member alliance. They have an eastern flank to protect. Remember, NATO is all about, according to its Secretary General, according to its founding charter, an alliance, a defensive alliance. It's meant to protect its own territory against the prospect of outside aggression. In this case, it doesn't use the word Russia, but obviously all minds are focused on what happens if Russia were to attack, say, Lithuania, the frontline Baltic states, Latvia, Estonia, Poland, so on and so forth. There had been plans, ambitious plans, to have rapid mobilization forces of NATO member states that could go to these eastern flank front lines in the case of an attack, up to 400, 300, 400,000 members. That has not happened yet. They still have to hammer out how do they do it, which countries cough up how many troops when. Those are going to be big issues at this summit, how to coordinate their own efforts to protect themselves.
Douglas Herbert, our international affairs editor.